Hi, I'm New World Library social media manager Kim Corbin, and I recently had the opportunity to sit down and talk with Sarah Ann Shockley about her book, The Pain Companion, Everyday Wisdom for Living with and Moving Beyond Chronic Pain. I hope that you'll enjoy the interview. Why don't we start by having you tell us about your story and how you came to write The Pain Companion?
Okay. So in the fall of 2007, I was diagnosed with thoracic outlet syndrome, which is a very painful condition. It's a collapse between the collarbones and the first ribs, and it creates a great deal of debilitation in the neck and the arms and the hands and a lot of nerve pain. So I basically had to stop doing everything, stop working, stop all of my activities, all of the things I did for pleasure. And I was a single mom at the time, so it was incredibly challenging. So basically overnight my whole life changed. It stopped. I had to basically pull back and do nothing. So that went on for years. I was in a terrific amount of pain, and I wasn't able to be helped by the medical community. There wasn't really a treatment that worked for thoracic outlet syndrome. The nerve pain medications didn't work for me, and the side effects were pretty bad, so that wasn't helpful. So I was left to my own devices to try to figure out what to do about it. So eventually what I ended up doing is began to write about what it was like to live with pain and what it was like to live with so much pain over time, about what I lost, what the sadness of it, the loneliness, the isolation, and did that mostly for myself, to just start writing out what it felt like, and to kind of, with the idea maybe I can write myself out of pain. So I did it very slowly and very painfully over a couple of years. And after I'd filled a couple notebooks with that writing, a lot of it was ranting and some of it was insightful and looking at what it meant to me, I read it back to myself and realized that there was something in there for other people as well. So that's what The Pain Companion came out of.
Well, thank you for using your pain to create such a wonderful companion for people. And readers in pain have tried just about everything.
Absolutely.
And so what is it about your approach that you think will shed new light for them?
Yes, it's true that most people in chronic pain have tried everything. They've been to many doctors, they've tried many treatments. And they're not, we're all looking for ways to get out of pain, to have pain end. And it would be great if there was one solution for that and we could just find that and not have to deal with pain. But for many of us, we're living with pain every single day for years, and the medical treatments aren't stopping pain. They might be helping alleviate it, and they may not. Some people don't get any help at all. So what I'm looking at is an approach to living with pain that is the non-medical aspects. What goes on with living with pain that is beyond just the physicality of it? How does it affect you emotionally? What goes on with your life that, how life is limited and brought in and contracted? So I look at ways to be with pain differently, ways to be with pain more positively as we're moving through it. How can we be with it differently? A lot of times what we tend to do is fight pain, and we resist it in some way, we deny it, we do anything we can to not be in it. And that can work sometimes, particularly for short-term pain, and if it's working, great, but for a lot of people that just goes on and on and on, and we get exhausted by the fight. So I'm advocating looking at pain differently and finding ways to communicate with it and to be with it in a more positive way as an ally in healing, really, rather than an enemy. So, yeah.
And you've said that the first step in healing is to fully arrive in your pain.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
That's probably a very unpopular thought because it's really hard to do.
Yeah.
But when we are fighting pain for years, and again, I'm talking about chronic pain, when we've been in pain for a long time and the fighting against it isn't working, then what I found, what worked for me, and it seems to work for many of my readers, is to kind of stop, just even for a moment, stop resisting it, stop fighting it, and just be with it. And that means not giving in, not giving up, not acquiescing, kind of finding that middle path between fighting it as an enemy or giving up and finding a way to be with it. So you're in a sense making pain your ally. And in order to move beyond it, we have to give up the resisting of it, because as we know, what we resist persists. That's really true with pain too. And we tend to kind of lock it in place with getting tight about it and resisting it. So if we can relax around it and begin to just be with it and let it be where it is first, as the first step, then it can begin to move on. Not that we're going to live in it forever. That's not the point. Oh, I want more pain. That's not the idea. But resisting it as the first step isn't always going to get you where you want to go. So the first thing is to be with it and kind of ask it, what are you doing here? What are you for? What's your message? What do I need to listen to? What do I need to know?
A lot of books that are out there on pain promise that you'll be pain-free, miracle solution. And I really appreciate that. It seems like that's your book is offering another approach to that.
Yeah, I can't offer. I would like to be able to say, read my book and you'll be pain-free, but that's not going to happen. Chronic pain is a long-term condition. It's very complex, it's multi-layered, it's multi-leveled, and it requires a long-term approach. It requires a multi-leveled approach. And I think that what we need is a way of looking at chronic pain with the whole person in mind, not just the medical aspects and not just here's a technique or here's a protocol that will get you out of pain, but how does it affect the whole person, and how do we address the whole person, spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally, all of that. And what I'm offering is a companion through that, so people have something, a sense of someone who's with them in it as they move through pain and hopefully move out the other side of it.
Because it seems like isolation and feeling alone in your pain has to be central for people who are in this.
It's huge. And it's amazing, there's so many people in pain and yet everyone feels alone. And in a kind of a horrible way, we are alone in our pain, in the sense that only we know what it's like for us. Only we understand it. Only we can feel it. And that's really difficult. And at the same time, there's a lot of us on this road, going through pain and going through the other side and getting to the end of it, we hope.
Talk to us a little bit about the role of guilt and shame when it comes to pain and what people can begin to do about it.
Well, we live in a very pain-avoidant culture. Pain is considered intrinsically bad. It's something we want to avoid, which is understandable. But when we consider all pain bad, and the first thing we want to do is stop it and get away from it, then when people are experiencing pain for years at a time, we begin to feel bad. We begin to feel like we've done something wrong. Why are we in pain for so long if pain is a bad thing? And we're made to feel like we should cover it up. We often minimalize it, where there's no really, we're not taught how to talk about pain, how to communicate about it. If we do talk about our pain, we're told that we are exaggerating, we're making it up. People want to, please don't talk about it. I don't want to hear about that. When we're afraid that we're going to make other people uncomfortable, which we do. So a lot of people that are carrying pain for a long amount of time feel bad about themselves for being in pain. We feel ashamed of it. It's something that we feel we need to hide, and we're encouraged to hide, actually. So we feel invisible, and we feel ashamed of ourselves and of the pain we're in. So one of the messages that I want to bring to people in pain is that being in pain is not a mistake. You're not wrong for being in pain. It's part of life. We all meet pain somewhere along the path in life. We meet physical pain, we meet emotional pain. It's just part of being human. And we don't want to be in it, of course not. But being in it isn't a punishment, it isn't a crime, it isn't a mistake. It's something that we have to move through, but know that we're not wrong for being there.
What about anger and blame, which it seems like there would be a lot of that going on as well?
Yes, there is. There's a lot of, when you're in pain for a long time, you're going to get really mad at pain. You're going to get mad at the condition. You're going to get angry at yourself for being in pain. That's the hardest thing to deal with. You're going to get angry at the doctors for not being able to help you. And you're going to get angry at people who aren't in pain for them having their lives and you don't have that anymore. And there's a lot of feeling of missing out and not being fair. It isn't fair. There's nothing fair about it. And that also goes along with blame of the medical system, blame of however it happened, and blame of the self for being in pain. So we carry a lot of that often, the anger and the blame, outward towards the situation and inward towards ourselves, unfortunately. And that's really important to know about, to notice, to be aware of, to acknowledge, to express it if you need to write it out. However, I wouldn't advocate repressing it, but you might want to express it in a journal or in some way not towards someone else. But particularly letting go of the anger and blame towards the self for being in pain. Really important step in healing.
Yeah. And what do you most hope readers will take away from your book, The Pain Companion?
I most hope that they would feel that they have a companion in pain. They're not alone. There are millions of people, unfortunately, in pain right now, and most people in pain feel isolated. They feel alone. So I would like this book to be a true companion for people, and that there are ways to be with pain differently, to be with it a little more positively. It doesn't have to always be a battle, even though, yes, we're always having to deal with it. It's always, in a sense, a struggle to just be in pain. That's really difficult, and there are ways that we can mitigate that and work with the loneliness and work with the anger, the fear. I have lots of things in the book about dealing with the things that come up around living with pain every day.